Hey everyone, it's episode 420, and we have a special treat for listeners of the Vinyl Guide podcast. For the next week or so, Riding Easy Records is offering 15% off all stuff at ridingeasyrex.com. Vinyl, t-shirts, accessories, record weights, the whole shebang. 15% off everything that's not already discounted. So now's your chance to save big on the latest Brown Acid Comp number 16, records by Monolord, Death Chant, Mondo Drag, the Death Wheelers, and lots more.
15% off when you enter discount code Vinyl Guide at checkout.
That's just a special way of saying thank you to the listeners of the Vinyl Guide. 15% off at ridingeasyrex.com when you enter Vinyl Guide, just for episode 420 of the Vinyl Guide podcast. And now, on with the show. Hey everyone, it's Nate. Welcome to episode 420 of the Vinyl Guide, the podcast for record collectors and music nerds. And today, episode 420, we have Daniel Hall of Riding Easy Records, the quintessential stoner rock label. Now, I must admit, I'm not very good with the ganja. I'm a super lightweight and a very cheap date, but Daniel and the Riding Easy crew live by the code. Southern California to the bone. And man, what great music Riding Easy Records provides. Today we talk to Daniel all about the label, his history, starting his career at Rick Rubin's American Records label, grabbing vinyl from the product's storerooms in the 90s, his rare records, the origin story of the Brown Acid series, reissues, super rarities like Fraction, Moonblood, what's next for Riding Easy Records, and a lot more. Plus, Daniel has been good enough to give the Vinyl Guide listeners a special 15% discount on a bunch of stuff at ridingeasyrex.com. Use the promo code VINYLGUIDE and get 15% off a ton of records, vinyl, t-shirts, accessories, record weights, all that stuff. That's ridingeasyrex.com. Promo code VINYLGUIDE, and that's for just a limited time, like a week or so. So get on it now. ridingeasyrex.com. Promo code VINYLGUIDE. Oh, hey, quick note, you lucky people, there's an extended version of this conversation only available to our Patreon legends at patreon.com/vinylguide. It's an extended interview, longer interview, more stories, more laughs, more vinyl. And of course, it's commercial free, high resolution. And damn it, you help support the Vinyl Guide podcast. And that is certainly appreciated. Patreon.com/vinylguide. Go there now and God bless you. All right, let's get going. Break out your bongs and grab your good stash. It is time for our 420 episode with Mr. Daniel Hall of Riding Easy Records.
Can you hear me?
I can. I can see you too.
Oh, what a beautiful sight. How are you?
I'm getting older, but not prettier. Happy episode 420, Daniel.
It really is. I feel like I should be doing like inaugural bong hits on the air right now, but I don't need to be. I don't want to go completely dumb and be a boring interview and just zone out. So
that's fine. You can do one at the end if you want. I can't function when I have anything to smoke like that. Riding Easy Records seems to be a label that is very attached to the stoner community. Is that fair?
It's definitely fair. I mean, even maybe leaving one step further, Riding Easy Records is really just an extension of me. So I am a stoner, therefore I have a company that is, attached to said stoner things. There are a lot of labels and there are a lot of people in the scene that I exist in that wave the stoner flag and don't smoke weed, and it really annoys me because it's like, dude, if you're gonna wave that flag, then we need to praise Jah together. And and if you're not willing to do that, like, I kind of feel like you're a poser. Anyways, but yes, so is Riding Easy Records attached to the stoner community? Yes, but moreover, Riding Easy Records is a Southern California born and bred thing, and marijuana happens to be a part of heavy rock and roll and Southern California lifestyle and van culture and classic car culture, and sort of like it's one of those things. It's not like oh, I like Caius, so then I guess I must like weed. It's much deeper than that. It's more of a lifestyle thing. So my label is really just an extension of me and what I'm into, and I'm into smoking weed. So there you go.
And vans, and you're a bit of a car head, and you've
I'm
got
a
all
total
those things.
guard. Yeah. I mean, like, that's my thing. Like, and that's all very Southern California culture, right? Like auto car culture is huge here, for multiple reasons. One, we don't have any good public transportation, and now that's a huge one, and that's one of the reasons why there's more cars in Los Angeles than anywhere else in the world. But also, it's nice here year round. You really can, if you want to, drive a classic car as your daily car here. And you'd be okay. You know what I mean? Like, it's not like you have extreme weather to deal with, or snow, or extreme heat, or whatever. So
I don't want this to become the COVID podcast, but I'm interested how a label like Riding Easy made it through the pandemic with all the ups and downs and closures and record shortages and that sort of thing.
dude, it was really gnarly. I gotta tell you, like, there was a few like kind of major things that happened for us. Well, first of all, we turned 10 years old this year, and like that in itself, like, well, first of all, this label wasn't even supposed to be what this label has become. And we've talked about this before, but it really was my weekend golf game. I had a regular job doing other things in music, and this was just like something like, oh, I'm going to put this band's record out, and which is Salem's Pot. And then it kind of grew from there. And then some early on signings of bands like Monolord and stuff. And then here we were within the first 2 years. It was pretty much like hey, you could do this for your day job if you wanted to. And that's what ended up happening. Fast forward to the pandemic. So in 2020, things hadn't quite backed up all the way yet. And so what had happened is like, it was kind of scary, but it hadn't quite set in. It was pretty much 2 weeks to slow the spread. Right. And then it turned into 3 weeks, and then like 4 weeks. And then pretty soon it's like, hey, the country has been shut down now for like 2 months. Here's a stimulus check. Well, dude, the week that the stimulus checks hit, we literally had like 2 months of business in that 1 week. Like, the stimulus check hit, and everybody was like basically buying weed and records to stay home and like slow the spread. So that was really great. I mean, 2020 was great. We had a great, like, it was like our web store was cracking. There was literally nothing for people to do but hang out at home, smoke dope, drink, and listen to records. It was really awesome. 2021 rolled around, and I think like people's jobs had started to actually go away. Nobody was on the payroll anymore. The stimulus money had definitely gone way down. And on top of that, what was taking 10 to 12 weeks to get made turned into 10 to 12 months, like within a year's time, right? And so that is where it got really scary, because bands that are like turning in their record in May, and they're like, what do you mean our record's not coming out this year? And I'm like, this is where we're at right now.
Were you running out of stock? Were you depleting kind of the storeroom and everything?
We were running out of some things. We were pretty well, like, on the stuff that sold pretty regularly, because we had a pretty good year in 2020. Like, I was foreseeing like, oh, well, if we sold all out of all these brown acids, we should just repress this right now. So there was a lot of things that we kind of like that were regular sellers for us that we managed to get into press. But as you know, a label can't survive on catalog alone. It's like any sort of business, right? Like, you have to continually have new items in order to keep people, even when we announce a new item, that one new item may be the thing that gets up to our site. It's not necessarily the thing they always buy, but that might be the thing that gets them to log on and be like, oh, let me go see, I'd like to get that. And then they give me like, oh shit, I missed these other things. Maybe I'm going to get these things right now, and I'll get this next time or whatever. So having new stuff was important. We had to get kind of creative with it. But I would say the biggest running out of stock was somewhat of a pain, but it wasn't that big of a deal. We could get that stuff. We were kind of flush on a lot of the things. And also, we work with distributors, right? So our distributors might have order 300 of something, sell 200 and have 100 sitting on the shelf. So it's like, I would definitely call and be like, hey, we're running low on this. Do you have any of these? Oh yeah, we've got like, 75 copies. All right, can you send me 50, please? You know what I mean? Like, so that would buy us some time to kind of like, we weren't ever really fully out. But I would say the biggest thing that hurt us the most was the trying to get things over the line for new releases. And we had a couple of plants like completely dick us around, and I don't want to drag their name through the mud, but I will say there was one plant in particular that took 28 months to finish a job that we paid
28 months, over 2 years.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah. And like, fortunately, we weren't the only ones going through it, right? And so there was other labels having these issues. The only thing we could do was just keep the line of communication open to people who pre-ordered and be like, hey, we know that you ordered this. We know that you paid up front for this. We did get delivered some colors, but not the color that you ordered. If you want any of these, we'll happily give you one. If you want to hold on, we're happy to let you do that too. I just want to let you know, like, this is completely out of our control. And I think that's the main thing. And everybody, for the most part, was extremely understanding. Like, we're kind of all in this together, right? Like, and you're not buying records from Writing Easy Records expecting an Amazon Prime experience where the shit's there the next day. So for that, I think it was cool. But no, man, it definitely, I think what we're seeing right now is more of the post-COVID lull. And I think that like what's happened where there is higher inflation across the board, people are spending almost twice as much as they were for gas. Groceries have gone through the roof. And even if, like that to me is like that extra $200, $300, $400 a month they may be spending on those other immediate life things, that might be their record money for the month. You know what I mean?
Right.
And I think that's where we see the lull is like just people just don't have as much to go around right now.
Working in the music industry, I think you got your start at American Recordings. Is that right?
I did. I called up and
a cold call. Just like
cold call. I got the front desk. I'm looking for an internship. And they said, hold on, I think somebody in publicity might need something. They put me through, and the woman at the publicity desk said, oh, you're looking for an internship? Yes. Do you live close to here? And I said, well, I live about like 20 minutes away. And she's like, okay, because somebody who was supposed to come today flaked, and we have this gigantic mailing, and we could really use some help. And she said, could you come here today? And I said, sure. She's like, okay, well, can you be here? When can you be here? I was like, an hour. And she goes, okay, come to the front desk and tell them who you are, and I'll come and get you. And that's pretty much how it started. I showed up on time. I stuffed envelopes till my hands bled. I believe it was something to do with the Black Crows. I don't think it was before Three Snakes and a Charm. It was something around that, which was super exciting for me because I was totally into that band and still am into that band. But I just was like, so it was like, yeah, man, that's how it kind of started. And I was going to school at the time. And then when American kind of switched over from Warner Brothers to Sony, it kind of disbanded the company as it existed when I was there, and people kind of broke off. And I ended up getting hired off with one of the startup companies out of American Records. And it was like my first actual paid job, which was really exciting. And yeah, from there, I just kind of bounced around, and I was at Artist Direct for a little bit. I was at Interscope for a little while, and then I realized like major label shit was not for me. Like that's not like I like the idea of but like going out and scouting like Black Eyed Peas shows and shit, I was like, this is not why I'm here, dude. Like this is and I wanted to be an A&R and I learned a lot from that, but I also learned that I'm going to work in music. It's just not going to be in that sect of music business.
Now, this is the era where obviously vinyl was not king.
You're right, but it was for me, even in the 90s. And that was actually one of the things that I was really excited about because, everybody is really excited about CDs in the 90s. I was not. So when I got to hit the product closet, I'd be like, oh, this is cool, but do you have this on vinyl? And they'd be like, vinyl? You really want a record of this? And I'd be like, yeah, I'd like that. They're like, I think I actually have a couple copies of this under my desk. Let me go and see. And like, they just kind of hand it out. and they didn't really care. And so and that's a lot how I built my record collection, because I would get the promo CDs, and it's like, yeah, you're not getting paid from in cash at the record label, but who's to say if you took 10 Marilyn Manson promos and took them and traded them in week of the release, you get pretty high value, and all of a sudden you got $100 to check out. And yeah, I mean, $100 on records today is nothing, but dude, in the 90s,
yeah,
used clean copy of Zeppelin 1 was $1.99. You could lit it for $100 at a record store. You could really buy a lot of records, and that's what was happening.
We always hear stories of the radio stations turning in all their promo copies, selling them for, whatever. So at labels, the same exact thing. There'd be a few people lining up to take the promo stuff immediately over to the record store so they could eat.
Oh yeah. I mean, what I quickly learned is that the mailroom has the keys to the castle. And so I became really good friends with all the guys in the mailroom, and therefore, and some of these people I'm still friends with today. But yeah, it was definitely a known thing. And, none of us were getting paid a living wage. I wasn't even getting paid at the time. So, hey, if I could get $200 or $300 a week in tradable promo stuff to buy records and then get a sandwich and a bag of weed while I was at it, then that's the way life will go. So
I've heard stories of labels around this time just throwing heaps of records out of their storerooms, literally dumpsters full of vinyl.
Anything and that's like what happened.
Yeah, okay.
That's what happened. So when they moved over from Warner to Sony, anything with a WIA stamp on it could not go to Sony. So there was a lot of things that were supposed to just get drilled and tossed that did not.
Okay. All right. Like what kind of things? If you look back right now, the salad days of it, which one of those dumpsters would you like to visit again with a truck?
I mean, I had a truck. So I mean, like I ended up with dozens of sealed copies of like Rain and Blood and South of Heaven and like, and fucking Black Rose records and anything that American was putting out back then. Johnny Cash records. I mean, if it had the WIA stamp, it was supposed to go on the garbage. Which it went, but then it went back into my car.
It made a detour.
Yeah. But there was a handful of us that definitely we weren't going to let those things go to waste. For a while there, it was weird because we'd show up, we'd have a bunch of the stuff to go trade in and stuff, and we'd show up at a record store and be like, wait a second, how do you we can't even order this stuff right now. Like, how do you guys have it? Don't worry about that. Like, if you guys, we used to work there, and this is all stuff that they can't take with. So that's, and they'd be like, okay, well, shit, we'll take 2 of these, 3 of these, 4 of these. We'll give you this much credit. And
yeah. Do you remember the kind of numbers, the quantity of vinyl that, a company like Def American was making it? Was it like, 5% of CD?
I was too low on the totem pole for that stuff, but I do know, like, I know that bands like Slayer sold a shitload of records back then. And I know that the Black Crowes were selling a lot of records, but I don't think it was that much vinyl. Like, I know, like, there's a reason, like, the Black Crowes Amorica is a perfect example of a record that hadn't been reissued for a while. And like, there was a point in time where that record would sell for $300 or $400. Because it was one of those 90s records that just didn't get pressed a lot. This happened at Interscope a lot too. They would press things more out of like novelty than actual. So like a perfect example, and when I started the label 10 years ago, I had been hoarding records at this point for almost 20 years. And so it was not only causing a problem with space, but I was like, I needed to sort of raise some money to kick this label off, which I wanted to do. And I was like, well, let's just go through and see what I can sell on Discogs to just raise some money. And one record I remember having 10 copies of was 9 Inch Nails, The Fragile, which is a triple LP, and it hadn't been reissued yet in 2012. I put one copy up sealed on Discogs, and it sold for $500 in the first hour. And I was like, oh shit, okay. So then the next day I put one up for $600 and it sold in like a half an hour. So I was like, oh my God. So like I think I sold like 3 or 4 of those in a couple days and like got almost like $3,000 for those.
Wow.
So that was the kind of stuff happening. I was sitting on a bunch of Tool stuff because I was a huge Tool fan. Like I think I had 5 copies of Enema, a few sealed ones, which I'm so mad. I should have just held on to them. But at the time, I was getting like $900 for a sealed Enema record. You know what I mean? So I was like, all right, well,
that's not too far what they go for right now. I mean,
a sealed one.
Well, I think sealed ones are probably $1,500, $1,800. So, I mean, inflation adjusted and everything. I think you've probably done well to cash out that one early.
Sure. And then the thing is that there was a lot of those things that I was like, kind of like, just holding on to and stuff. So there was the interesting thing. There wasn't a lot of people that was into that. Now, I would still go to the Pasadena City swap meet, City College swap meet, the first Sunday of every month. And then Record Surplus, which was in Santa Monica, which was fucking legendary for the longest time. They had this attic that like anything that wasn't pristine mint went upstairs to the attic for 92 cents. And then every quarter, so every 3 months, they would say all the records in the attic are 3 records for $1. Dude, we're talking like Blue Note records with like a tiny little ding in the corner and like 30 cents. You know what I mean? Like things that like I have now that like if I want to go buy again, I'd have to spend several $100s for. So it was like a really great way, back in the day. Again, it wasn't cool. It wasn't. And I was buying records because I liked them, but I was also buying records because I had turntables and I wanted to DJ on.
Now you seem to have quite the collection behind you, and I imagine that's a portion of your collection.
Yeah.
What are some of the contents of your collection that you're especially proud of there?
We'll be back after these messages.
Well, hey there, record collectors. There's a new service available that specializes in record cleaning, restoring, sticker removal, and professional grading.
VMGvinyl.com.
VMG Vinyl can help you make the most of your collectible records. From professional cleaning of records and sleeves,
removing old price tags and store stickers,
dry cleaning and rejuvenation of old shrink wrap to make it look like new, even providing you a professional play-tested third-party grade with either removable grading or encasing in plastic. You have a wide range of choices at VMGvinyl.com.
Buying a highly collectible record and you want it checked out by an expert?
VMG Vinyl can do that too. Head over there now and see what VMGvinyl.com can do for you and your collection. That's VMGvinyl.com, the one-stop shop for professional third-party grading, cleaning, and record restoration. That's VMGvinyl.com. Oh, and hey, record nerds, don't forget to clean your records with the very best and safest record cleaner, the Groove Washer. Make your records look and sound their very best and store them with confidence using the new Groove Washer Groove Guard record sleeves. You gotta try this out. It makes a huge difference to the quality of your vinyl experience. Ask for the Groove Washer by name at your local record store and accept no substitutes. Or head over to groovewasher.com and use discount code VINYLGUIDE10.
All hail the Groove Washer.
That's groovewasher.com, discount code VINYLGUIDE10.
Now we return to the program, already in progress.
No limits.
Now you seem to have quite the collection behind you, and I imagine that's a portion of your collection.
Yeah.
What are some of the contents of your collection that you're especially proud of there?
Man, I'm mostly proud of all the records that I put out, to be quite honest.
Of course.
There's some things in here that I have that I think are cool. There's some like test pressings of things that I think are cool to sort of be a part of. Like, I've got like the first Caius record, the Sons of Caius record, put out on that original label, and like that kind of stuff, just being into that kind of music. I don't know. There probably is, I'm sure, I don't know. There's a lot of gems. Some of the records that I hold on to aren't even necessarily, there's not a monetary value at this point, but there is an emotional connection to said record. You know what I mean? Like, so
right.
Like, I do have some records that like were some of my dad's favorite records, which, I'm not really a big fan of what he listened to, but my dad isn't here anymore. So it's cool for me to have those records. You know what I mean? I've got some stuff given to me by the late 45 King, who just passed away last week. And those are things that I hold kind of like dear to me, even and like weird things that he made, like weird like 45 only test pressings for his DJ set. Like he would give me those things, and like that's the kind of thing to me that is great. But yeah, man, I don't really know. I kind of stopped caring about expensive records. Probably about 15 years ago, when I started buying cars.
Okay. So you shift.
Well, it was sort of like, yeah, like it was sort of like, hey, have cool classic cars, or and listen to some represses, or have originals and no cars. I'll take the cars and I'll listen to some represses.
So I know Lance from Permanent has been to your place.
He's
before.
on a whole nother level, but he has no classic cars.
No, but when he goes to your record collection, what's the holy shit record that he looks at?
I don't even know. I don't even think Lance has been and looked at my record collection. But I'm sure there's some stuff. I mean, I definitely have some pretty rare Sabbath records. And I know that I've got some rare punk stuff that I have acquired through the years. But God, I don't even know, man. I wish I had a better answer for you. It's like when somebody asks you, like, what's your favorite movie of all time, and you're like drawing this blank, and then I know as soon as I get off this this call with you, you're gonna be like, I'm gonna be like, oh, I should have told him that. I will say, like, a bunch of the Brown Acid 7-inches, I have acquired before we comped them, or or got them when we did the deal. I got stuff, and one of the interesting things about that is, like, some of these 7-inches, like, maybe were not as known, and selling for cheap, $10, $50, and now sell for like fucking $300 or $400 because they were on the comp and they gained notoriety and people wanted the originals. So that's one of the things where it's interesting that I have a hand in sort of changing a record's market value if it gets on one of our comps.
A similar thing happens when we feature a record here on the show. All of a sudden, if we're talking about a rare record of some sort, market value goes up because it's just put on different people's radar. They didn't know it existed, or they weren't that familiar with it, and now they want a copy just to have a copy.
Yeah. Like some of the things that I have that are probably super sought after, like the first Fuzz record. I have a test pressing of that, and I also have test pressings of all the early Fuzz 7-inches, the metal box shit and all the stuff that kind of In the Red did at that time, which, I mean, those are, like, for some people, that's like some holy grail shit. If you have a Fuzz like test pressing, that's 1 of 5, you know what I mean? Like, it's pretty rare shit. But yeah, I mean, I don't know, man. I've got another record that's probably a holy shit record is I have Meshuggah test pressings from like the first 4 records, like just on the metal thing, but yeah, man, it's interesting. I definitely have some Black Sabbath test pressings. I've got some, there's some stuff in there. I've got, RL cut Zeppelin records and kind of just standard fare. As far as somebody like Lance goes, or Dylan from Noble Records or whatever, like, those guys are like consummate collectors, dude. Like, they've literally dedicated their life to it. I am a consummate music fan, but I'm not as concerned with the baseball card aspect of it. Like, if I have a clean copy of something that sounds good, like, I'm totally cool with that. If it was somebody who was like, hey, I'll give you this nice 180 gram reprint for $30, or you can have this original for $1,000, I'll take the $30 version and put 970 into suspension on my car. You know what I mean? Like, that's more my speed. So that's how I am. And I know that that's probably super sacrilegious. People listening to this be like, man, this guy's such a poser. And I
No. Most of us are kind of like that. I mean, very few people can kind of have the sort of, I'll call it the extravagances of someone like Lance or Dylan. And again, those guys, they play in a league that I can't play in.
Oh yeah. I mean, it's their whole business.
Yeah.
It's literally their whole business, and it's impressive, and I see it and I'm like, that's really cool. I mean, it's like, it's inspiring to me. At the same time, even if I had, again, like there's other things I think that I would rather sort of like have, you know what I mean? Like, but I guess if I could have it all, then sure, I'd only have originals. But if I have to choose, you know what I mean? Like, that's just where I'm at, you know? So that's why, but the things that I actually on my shelf that are sort of like things that I'm extremely proud of and like that are near and dear to me are actual records that I had a hand in getting from, you know, from point A to consumer's shelf or to record enthusiast shelf. You know what I mean?
So let's talk about some of these releases
Yes.
that Writing Easy has had. And in recent years, there seems to be more and more of them.
So, yeah, we've been going really crazy about that. And, you know, it's great that you talk about Lance because Lance is a huge, huge, huge part of Writing Easy Records. Lance and I became friends probably 12 years ago or something like that. I liked his store. We had a couple mutual friends. He kind of sent me a tape of a bunch of Brown Acid, what turned into Brown Acid,
prototype Brown Acid.
Yeah, and I was like, I was just like, I don't even remember how it started. Like, I was just like, hey, dude, like, I'm always, you know, looking for new stuff to listen to. If you ever feel like sharing any music, one music fan to another, please hit me off. And he's like, well, here's a bunch of 45s that I collect, and you know, you probably won't hear this stuff anywhere else. And then I was like, damn, this is cool. And I think I asked him like, oh, if you ever see one of these 45s, I would like to have a copy of this song. I really like it. And he goes, come by the shop. I definitely have copies. And then he pulled it out and he had this box of like a lot of copies of stuff that were on that mixtape.
Mm-hmm.
He had a lot of copies of it. And I said, how do you have all of these fucking copies? And he's like, oh, well, dude, I you know, he's like, you know, I track records, obviously. And he's like, and sometimes the best way to source records is just talking to people who made them. And I was like, oh, cool. I was like, so you're saying you know these people? And he said, yeah, I can get a hold of all these guys. And I was like, why aren't we doing compilations? He's like, I don't have time for all that. And I was like, but I do. And that was the beginning of how we got to Brown Acid. So fast forward, we're at Brown Acid 17 now. Lance and I have had subsidiary things that were part of Brown Acid. Essentially, bands would be like, hey, you know, we did this 1 7-inch, but then we also recorded this whole record and our manager fucked us and the label dropped it and whatever, but we have never released this. So the Ice record is a perfect example of that. Mm-hmm. The Spiny Norman record is a perfect example of that. These are tracks that they had a song on Brown Acid and then it came out that there was a full-length record. Well, it made complete sense. Lately, where we have been at is like, we've had a handful of people that we've licensed stuff from for Brown Acid pass away.
Yeah.
Since we've done that. And as you know, people who were, you know, 20 or 25 in 1970, they're getting up there now. And a lot of the stuff that we've been after, it just sort of like, for us, it felt like the timing is now, if we're going to continue kind of working on stuff, we have these opportunities to go after some of these sort of unknown records, but also some holy grail records that, like, while these people are still alive and breathing, we should hit them up and see what we can get. So in the past, and I guess for me and for Lance, if there wasn't a road to a physical release, for us, it just kind of didn't make sense. We have changed our tune on that. I think there's a lot of things that never got released or don't exist on streaming platforms that still need a release and a home to go to be a part of. And so we have been licensing a ton of stuff. In the last like year and a half, we probably licensed 50 full-length albums. And we have been extremely busy in a whole bunch of different kind of like areas, not just the typical Brown Acid area. So we've kind of like where we were kind of focused on this 60s and 70s thing of like fuzzed out rock stuff. It's the net has gone kind of wider and there's a lot of great things. So like one of our holy grail releases that we're really, really excited about is the Fraction record, which if, you know, I know you know about that, But even some people who I would think that they know about it, they're like, I've never seen, I don't know what this is. And then they hear it and they're like, holy shit, like what?
Yeah.
How did I miss this? You know what I
So
mean?
this is Fraction Moonblood.
Yes, it is.
And the record, the original record, it's a $5,000 record.
Easy.
And Writing Easy is reissuing that. Now, first off, how do you get the rights? Like, how do you find, or how does that come to be? Because I know there's been some reissues of Fraction in the past, but this is like a deluxe one where it's got the same insert that the original ones did.
Yeah, I mean, so in regards to all of our kind of classic releases, Lance is my A&R guy for that stuff. He is the guy who is tracking that stuff down, hunting. You know, he's got multiple angles to work with it. Like, hey, I'd like to buy copies to resell. I'd like to buy copies for my collection. And also I work with this label very closely, and we can offer you money here. So when he comes to the table, it's a lot more, it's not a one-dimensional thing, which is great. Right. And so yeah, I mean, like this one was one that was sort of on our hit list, and we have this crazy hit list of like, I mean, it's not really any, I mean, anybody could be like, wow, okay, well, of course you want that record. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. It's like, but let's put it on the hit list. And then we just kind of figure it out. With the Fraction record, Jim Beach is the main guy in the band. This is an LA band. He is in LA. He is still a very busy working like dude. Like he owns an architecture firm. Like he's a successful dude. Like when we called, he was like, I don't even have time to deal with this right now, guys. Just put this down on paper and I'll take a look at it. And if it seems like it makes sense, like we can get down. Right. But, you know what I mean? Like there wasn't, some of the guys that we hit up are the biggest day of their life or whatever. Like this was just another fucking call for him. So, which is fine. But yeah. And, yeah, man. So, you know, Mexican Summer legally put out the record in 2010. That license has since gone and passed. And now Writing Easy is sort of, you know, we're getting behind it. We're going to do a proper thing. There's going to be multiple, you know, there's going to be a few different colorways that you'll be able to get it at. We are going to do it as exact replica of the original. It's, you know, it's going to have like the cellophane window in the front and all of the stuff. But yeah, so that's one that we're working on right now.
So something like that, as well as the other records, artwork and tapes, like in this example of Fraction, were there original tapes? Was it a needle drop? Did you have to?
It was,
like,
yeah, it was source? Not. We had we had original masters from the 90s that had been transferred from tape. So we didn't have the tapes anymore, but there was one other release before the Mexican Summer release, and that one was from those masters taken in the 90s. So that were from the tapes.
And I'll also just jump in here, just anyone listening, needle drop is not a bad thing. In fact, a lot of the Writing Easy records that use needle drop sound brilliant. Our own record, my own high school band that's on one of the comps, the version that's on Scrap Metal too sounds better than the copies that we have. So
no, they're definitely like, we've got a great thing. I have to shout out my dude Nick Townsend, who does all of our vinyl mastering. He's got an incredible setup with a 6-figure chain of, you know, starting with a $30,000 needle that goes through all these nice mic pre's and all that stuff. And then it goes in and it goes into a digital platform where he goes and then cleans up all the snap, crackle, pops, and then masters it properly. And he's the one who did the treatment on this Fraction record. He's done all of our sort of big releases. He did the Randy Holden record that way as well. So yeah, man, like Randy Holden Population 2, he was the one who did that as well. And that one came out really well as well. So, but yeah, like that is sort of how this thing has happened. And so we've been a really busy in that area. So obviously, you know, the Fraction Moonblood one, that's a big one. And I think a lot of people are gonna be excited about that. We also are doing stuff that's like more unknown. And so like, you know, I have a stack of some things here just to kind of like, so we went over the Fraction records. we've got quite a few. We've been really active in the Southern Rock, private press Southern Rock stuff. And so kicking off in December, we're doing a Southern Rock release a week on digital. So this is all private press Southern Rock stuff. It's basically like, I mean, dude, it's solid like rock stuff that you know. So anyways, one of the releases we're doing is the Max Creek Band.
Okay. That's not on the website, is it?
No, none of this stuff's on the website. Yeah, this is like a sneak peek on some stuff. We
Okay.
did a mixtape earlier this year that had a lot of this stuff on there. But the other one that I'm really excited about is this band called Mammoth.
Okay.
And this is also part of our Southern Rock. And then we're also doing an album called Southern Steel, which is like another private press thing. But yeah, all of this stuff will start to get sort of going in December. These full lengths will be getting reissued on a physical level, and there's also going to be a new compilation series around Southern Rock stuff, so people can kind of like, you know, the way that we do with Brown Acid. You learn about it on Brown Acid, then you're like, damn, that band's cool. Oh, they have a full length record. Here you go. So
yeah. Now you have these different bands that, you know, they I guess that you started from learning about them or getting to know them through Brown Acid.
Sure.
You find out they have a bunch of other recordings. You listen to them, you like the music. You know, I'm thinking bands like Stonewall and you know, Master Dance, right?
Sure.
You put those records out. How difficult is it to get that knowledge out there about the record when you don't have a band that's touring? It's
I mean, like, you know, Master Dance is like a really good example. Like the Stonewall record, which is not a Writing Easy release, is a permanent release, but the Stonewall record has some lore behind it. Like amongst the heavy 70s rock aficionados, that, you know, the Rich Hops, the Paul Majors, those types of like dudes who have literally been in the game since the game started. There are guys who have original copies of these records, and they were there while it was happening. The average person who is into that stuff, they do not know that stuff even exists. And like, I mean, like, I'm not going to sit here and tell you, oh, I've been listening to Stonewall since the 90s. Dude, I didn't know about that record until like 10 years ago, dude. Like there's one thing that I learn as I run a label and we do a lot of this reissue stuff. I realize how much I don't fucking know at all. And like, I'm like, oh my God. And I'm always blown away when I think something is somewhat common knowledge, like the Fraction LP. And then I talk to somebody who is a pretty heavy cat and has lots of money in records, and like they're somebody who you would expect, and they're like, dude, I've never heard this before. This is amazing. This is so cool. You know what I mean? Like, so that's the beautiful thing about a lot of this stuff. But the Master Dance record, there was literally, they put out 1 7-inch that was limited to like, I think it was like under 100 were made out of Detroit. It literally was to get the band gigs. We did the one for Brown Acid, and then after talking to them, they said, hey, we have a full record. Would you guys be interested in hearing this record? And we're like, yeah, of course. And then it came back, and it's like, it's this amazing album, dude. Like, it's like, for anybody who likes Grand Funk, that Master Dance record is right on par with any Detroit rock going on in 1973, 1974. It's just a fantastic record. So how do we make a name for it? Part of it, I just think that Writing Easy has a bit of a brand loyalty of sorts, where it's like, okay, if we put the hype sticker that says as heard on Brown Acid's on the 17th volume now, you know, we're not, it's at this point, there's a lot of people that buy those and they love those comps and they learn about new stuff. So that's one way that we're able to sort of fast track it, I think. And then the rest of it is like me and Lance and whomever, like getting on our social media platforms and talking about these things. And you know, somebody who has become, you know, a major player in this arena is Dylan at Noble Records. Dylan, when Dylan wants to get behind something, like, dude people listen. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
Like, he's a fantastic communicator, and his taste is really great. And if we can get Dylan to talk about it on video, like he does a great job at that. And it's like, it's awesome. We also do ads on Reddit. We also take out we do boosted posts on YouTube, and we'll do stuff. It's a combination of things, and really what it comes down to is just making sure that people that are into that kind of stuff are at least finding out about it. And like with Master Dance, like, it doesn't sell thousands. I mean, I think we pressed 1,000. We probably have a few hundred still in stock. It came out earlier this year. It's not a dead record by any means at all. But these records don't move like a current band, like a Mondo Drag or a Death Chant or something like that. It is definitely something, but it also, the flip side of that is that it also has the potential to get, like, there's so many TV and film shows that are set in the 70s that, like, something like this could get licensed for, and that's part of the business plan right there.
When you have a band like Maximilian, that's a
Yes.
Writing Easy release. Now, they were originally on a major label.
They were.
They weren't on it wasn't a private press or anything. Yeah. How
It was not.
Yeah. How is that a different process? Is it?
It's a different process. We dealt with Moby, who's the main songwriter and controller of it, and he something went down where the rights reverted back to them, and so
this is not Moby, who I think a lot of people are probably thinking of. This is the
it's not the dance music.
Moby. Yeah, this is a 1960s, late 60s band, right?
Yep. 69, dude. Here's the cover right here. We did this as a Record Store Day release. It blew out for one day. There might be a couple copies left over from our site, but yeah, for the most part, like, it all was kind of gone in one day for Record Store Day release.
Wow. Okay.
And that was kind of for us, like all of these sort of like repress, reissue things, and these kind of like what I call dusty records. Very few are like a fraction where there's this high resale amount going on, and even like a reissue from 10 years ago will sell for $200. Where most of this stuff is virtually unknown and can take a while to sell 1,000 copies. I'm not gonna, it's like part of there's an altruistic end to part of like these kinds of things. You know what I mean? No one is driving Ferraris reissuing dusty, fuzzed out rock records, and so but if we get an opportunity to do something Record Store Day, and it's like something that we can, like, hey man, like, we could sell 1,500 of these in one day, and like record stores are excited about this, and that's great. That's a great situation for us. So yeah.
You guys got to constantly be planning on this. Like, you must have kind of a 3-year window understanding of kind of the releases that are coming out for the next.
Dude, it's crazy. Months, like we right now. So like our schedule for next year is completely booked out, and we have so many things kind of on the physical side and digital side that, like, we pretty much have a digital release going on every week from now through April. That's already in the books.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of things that are planned, and even when we sign up on like a new album or something to reissue, and they're like, great, when are you guys going to start? And we're like, well, we're going to get the digital out pretty soon. We'll start pitching it for licenses, but physical probably won't happen until mid 2025. And they're like, what? And you're like, well, we're this is how far we've been kind of like working out. And also we had to also do that too, because the wait times for vinyl were crazy, which now they are not crazy. Yeah. Now the wait times for vinyl are very quick now. I'm getting emails from plants that, would like our business. They're offering 8-week turnarounds and discounts right now, which is a far cry from how it was 2 years ago.
Well, so many places have now opened up. There's more vinyl pressing plants, more shifts. And yeah, I figured this time was coming.
Oh yeah. I mean, we're, RTI is where we press all of our records. RTI is kind of a gold standard for plants here in the States. We're lucky enough to be local to go pick up our records, so we're not paying these exorbitant shipping costs nor losing time in that. But RTI right now, I mean, like, we're getting stuff done like from the time that they have it's workable, 2-3 weeks.
Yeah, so, a new plant just opened up not far from you, Onyx.
Yeah, I saw that, like in Arcadia or something, right?
Yeah.
again, I wish them the best of luck. I don't have a reason to change. RTI has been so good to us. Yeah, I mean, we have a really great working relationship with them, and their quality of work is always awesome. And if there's ever a problem, which there's very rarely anything, but if there is, they're right on it, man. I can't speak highly enough about them.
What is Writing Easy's best selling record to date? Hey everyone, it's episode 420.
And we have a special treat for listeners of the Vinyl Guide podcast.
For the next week or so, Writing Easy Records is offering 15% off all stuff at writingeasyrex.com. Vinyl, t-shirts, accessories, record weights, the whole shebang. 15% off everything that's not already discounted. So now's your chance to save big on the latest Brown Acid Comp number 16, records by Monolord, Death Chant, Mondo Drag, The Death Wheelers, and lots more.
15% off when you enter discount code Vinyl Guide at checkout.
That's just a special way of saying thank you to the listeners of the Vinyl Guide. 15% off at writingeasyrex.com when you enter Vinyl Guide, just for episode 420 of the Vinyl Guide podcast. What is Writing Easy's best selling record to date?
I would say probably the Monolord stuff. Monolord Empress Rising is probably our biggest seller. That is a record that, kind of came out in the first year and a half of when we were around. Yeah, it actually did. It came out April 1st, 2014. The 10-year anniversary is going to be next year for it. But that was the beginning of that band. That, if you're not familiar with Monolord, Monolord is a 3-piece doom band from Sweden, Gothenburg, Sweden. They are the way that Electric Wizard gets a pass, the way that Sleep gets a pass, Monolord gets a pass on like people who don't like doom will be like, well, I don't really listen to doom, but I love that band Monolord. They're really great. So they've kind of transcended outside of where they sort of initially started from. And so, I also manage the band now. They did their 3 records with me. And then I started managing them, and now they're on Relapse. So,
okay. You're still managing Monolord. Okay.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Right. That was kind of like, it was like, hey dude, like we really like working with you. Our 3-record deal is up. We'd love to have you in the mix. We're not really sure how things kind of go. And that just kind of seemed like the next logical step. So yeah, I've been handling the band's business.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Espen's been on the show. And so anytime
he's great.
Anytime they do a new album, I'm always interested.
Yes. And he's got a new band. Well, I mean, Monolord's still functioning or whatever, but he just did that all Slayer cover songs, but it's called Slower. And it's all Slayer, but slowed way down. And it's with Bob from Fu Manchu. And I think Scott Reeder plays on a few tracks. Laura from Kailesa is on it. It's like kind of like an all-star sort of band playing Slayer slowed down called Slower.
Right. Now, when you originally started the label, it wasn't Writing Easy Records.
It was Easy Rider Records.
Right.
We had been making quite a bit of noise in the first year. I filed for the trademark. And then when I filed the trademark, that set off alarms to Paisano Publications, who owns Easy Riders magazine. I don't ride motorcycles. I didn't really even know if somebody said, oh, there's an Easy Riders magazine, I knew what it was, but I didn't own any Easy Riders magazines. The name of the label came from my favorite Hendrix song, Easy Rider. And that is how this started. I probably should have spelled it the way that Jimmy did with the Easy Y, but I didn't. Anyways, they said that's too close. You're a media company. We're a media company. We feel that you're utilizing our trademark to improve your brand. And I was like, dude, you guys like wear bedazzled jeans and wear Von Fucked hats. Like this has nothing to do with what you guys are doing over here. But nonetheless, they had an attorney, and I wasn't prepared to go to that. And so we did agree that Writing Easy Records would be okay for them. That wouldn't be stepping on their toes. So we flipped it around. And in some ways, it was kind of the best thing that could have ever happened. Because Writing Easy is its own unique thing. There wasn't anything else called Writing Easy. We still kept sort of like the Easy Rider Record handle on Instagram and some of the other things. So it's like, so there's a bit of that, but that's where that comes from. And I'm totally cool with it. We didn't skip a beat. It's not like people were like, oh, I don't like your label now that it's not called Easy Rider. You know what I mean? Like, so
yeah.
I just see that happen.
Okay, I've seen records in both because the logo kind of morphed as well. So there's sometimes I'm like, oh wait, that's Easy Rider. Okay, hang on a second.
Yeah. So I would say, I would say we were using the Easy Rider logo probably until May of 2014. So, April 2013 for the first maybe like 13 months, and then we figured it out.
What is the most collectible or desired Writing Easy record?
Easy title? We did there's a few things. Brown Acid 1 test pressing, which never got let out into the public, and I think there was only 5 in existence. That's pretty fucking rare. Most of the other test pressings we will number up and sell like 15 or 20 of them. That one was never offered up. So if you have one of those, I don't know how you got it, but that would be a big one to have. The other one that we've done, we did a lathe cut Black Sabbath cover of Fairies Wear Boots with Monolord that was limited to 40. The band was supposed to get 20 and we were supposed to get 20. I got them and sent them to the band to Sweden, and you know what happened next? USPS or whoever lost them.
Right.
So there's only 20 of those in existence, and I've seen those fetch a pretty high penny. I know that some of the Salem's Pot early stuff that we put out, which is Easy RDR 001, those I've seen those go for like $500 or $600 on stuff. But I think it's like when I first started the label, I know that we reissued Sleep Holy Mountain on cassette in the first year that we were around. And I've seen those fetch for over $100, which is a lot for a reissue cassette, but hey, anything Sleep does well. But when I started the label, it was definitely a more boutique independent thing. Digital wasn't even part of the thing. It was just like, I wanted to make records. I wanted to do, if we're pressing 300 records, the band would get 60. I would sell my 240. There was no paperwork. It was just like, let's do product deals, whatever. As things started to grow, we started to sort of button up. And, but when I started the label, it was a boutique thing. And then at a certain point I said, do I want to make eBay items or do I want to make things that like people can get, and do I want to really help these bands grow as a band? Because if a band is putting a great record out, but if somebody who wants to buy it has to go on Discogs and pay $150 for it, that's not helping anybody, right, except for the flipper. And so I made a very conscious decision that we are not going to do these limited things. If you want to buy a copy of this record, I will make those records and keep them in print. And so we've kind of done a lot of that, even to my detriment at times, where it's like, well, this thing's out of print, but man, it doesn't sell that much. But this band is still active. Like we kind of got to like make it available so that they have, you know what I mean? Like, I feel like that's a commitment that you take on when you put a band's record out. If you're going to have it for an extended time, while it's in your, it's under your, kind of like label, it's your job to be a label and put the record out.
When you look 3 to 5 years in the future, how do you think a business like Writing Easy will evolve?
I ask myself that every day. I think that we will continue down the path of what we have been doing. I think that we will continue, developing new bands that are current. So like, right now it's like we're working with like Death Chant, we're working with Mondo Drag, we're working with Early Moods. Zigzags are going to have a new record out this coming year. There's going to be these bands that are sort of like, new current bands that we're going to continue to work with. But it's my hope that a lot of our catalog that we've been really not only spending a lot of time chasing down, but actually spending money securing and locking up, is that that starts to really pay off in dividends of the, it's more passive income where it's like, I don't have to press records. This is something where it's like, oh my God, you need a song that sounds like Tom Petty and you can't afford that. We'll call Riding Easy because he has this Randy and the Goats record right here that is like if Tom Petty and Lou Reed had a baby and it was recorded in 1978. Why wouldn't we talk? So to me, that's kind of where my head is at. I will continue to sort of do, a lot of the reissue stuff. But I think for me, where we'll continue to put more of our efforts is definitely in making sure that our licensing game is buttoned up. And I think that is going to be a necessity for anybody running a record label, period. Straight up.
Do you think we've hit peak vinyl revival?
I don't know, because here's the thing. Labels like Riding Easy Records, labels like Relapse Records, like In the Red Records, like any of these sort of core audience record labels. I don't care if it's garage music or punk music or heavy metal or indie rock or whatever. Those are the labels that are going to continue to press records even when it's not cool to do, right? Do I think that Universal is going to press another 1 million copies of Adele on the next run? Probably not. I heard they lost their ass on that. I heard they literally have 500,000 on pallets in storage right now. Like they overshot the mark grossly. So I don't know. Do I think artists like Taylor Swift are going to be able to sell 100,000 records on any given Saturday if it's a new exclusive color? Yes, I do. But I don't know if that has anything to do with the vinyl revival versus her just being a pop star. You know what I mean? And I don't bag on Taylor Swift. I'm fucking shocked that, man, good for her. If she can make that kind of cheese doing what she does, I have so much respect for anybody who can make that kind of money doing music, period. She's clearly over my head. So do I think it's over? Do I think the vinyl revivals? No, I don't. But I do think that as the prices continue to sort of rise, not only in getting records made, but just transporting records and postage and all of the things, I think what we'll start to see is that people will probably have to be a little bit more choosy on what they buy.
Yeah. There's always those outliers like the Taylor Swifts or the Adeles and things that are serve as examples and what could be. But by and large, the quantity of vinyl, and I tend to agree a bit on the feeling the zeitgeist out there. It does feel like people are going to need to be choosier. And so, yeah, I think the excitement of getting all these different things on vinyl has now kind of subsided a bit. And now,
do you think that major labels are really looking at it and be like, damn, we haven't pressed this Wham record in 30 years. We better run 100,000. I don't see that happening. You know what I mean? Like,
right.
Whereas maybe like during the pandemic, it made complete sense, right? Because it's like, they're not going to be able to put out that Beyonce record because she can't go on tour. She can't do the morning talk shows because nothing's in person. She can't, go do late night and perform. So it's like, okay, totally cool. I get that. So what do? They dip into their catalog and be like, well, this Phil Collins record hasn't been released and the streaming numbers are high. Well, let's run 100,000. You know what I mean? Like, so I don't really know, but I do think that I think majors are definitely the ones that caused part of the meltdown with the plants. Actually, most of the meltdown with the plants. And even Jack White said, you guys are fucking it up for all of these small guys that run 500 punk 7-inches. You guys have put in these gigantic orders. We never had to deal with people like you before because you guys all had your own presses and you would deal with it on your own. You never, it never crept into the independent music scene. And now they've kind of come along. And I don't fault the plants for taking those big jobs. It makes complete sense, dude. Like, I get it. I think we would all probably do the same thing, right? No, money is money. We got to make money. But yeah, I think that, like, I don't know. I think I don't know if it needs to be pressing 1 million copies of anything anytime soon.
No.
That's where I think that we might see the slowdown. Just because Adele is huge doesn't mean that all her fans want to buy a vinyl of her release.
Yeah.
Most of them probably don't even have a record player. They literally bought it as, it's like one more merch item that they bought.
It's like a t-shirt.
Yeah. So, but I can tell you this, when it's not cool anymore, we'll still be making records, because the people that are into what we're up to, that's the medium, right? Yeah.
Well,
something real
through the dry years as well. They were the same labels that were doing that. So yeah, it's yeah. All right. So looking forward in the future. Now, by the way, Daniel, I've I know we talked a lot about kind of older music and some of the releases, Brotherhood of Peace, and some of the other things that you guys have coming out. But some of the more current music, Mondo Drag, Through the Hourglass. Love that album.
Yes.
And by the way, I'm coming to LA at the end of the year, so I'm gonna get you to set aside a little stack of records for me. One of them is this Mondo Drag I could take back.
Oh my God, yes.
What else is coming up, at least in the next 6-12 months for
okay, cool. Easy? So right now, we just got these, and I haven't even put these online yet. But this
Psychic Trash.
Psychic Trash. For fans of Melvin's Big Business.
Mm-hmm.
This is a 2-piece out of Detroit. This record fucking slays. They're out on the road with Oxbow starting in like 2 weeks from now.
Okay.
This record, the street date on this record is November 17th. The first single, Underlings, is streaming everywhere. I cannot. This band is one of those things. It's like a freak of nature when you see them play. So make sure you check that out. The Mondo Drag record just came out, which I highly suggest. It's on many people's album of the year. Death Chant Thrones record just came out. If you like Motorhead and Thin Lizzy, this is basically like their rebellious child. So really great kind of dueling leads, but then they also have some like ballads that like will give Queens of the Stone Age kind of a run for their money as well. So that's it. As far as like some of the reissue stuff, I know we touched on some of the Southern rock stuff, but here's a record that I'm really excited about that we have coming out on November 3rd across all digital. It's called Living Links, Gathering Forces. This is a Private Press record from 1985. This group got popular out of New Orleans, and it's for fans of, it's post-punk. It's like a Talking Heads kind of vibe, like Joy Division, kind of like real dry guitars, almost like early Cure stuff. This will be out on all streaming platforms, and we actually have dead stock. We have about 25 copies of the LP and some of the 7-inches, which are all pretty pricey online. We're going to be selling them at like way less prices than you would get on Discogs.
Are those already on streaming? Can we look
November
that up right
3rd? But I will send you an advance link, and if you want to share any of that with your audience, if you want to play any of it, that's totally cool. We can work that out.
Okay, maybe I'll share it with the Patreon folks.
Yeah, man. And then also to White Boy and the Average Rat Band. This is like a seminal like East Coast like 83 metal record. This record now lives over here on Writing Easy. We're gonna have a new physical release of it early next year. Streaming is taking over again in like mid-October, and then October 31st. And this is now shipping. But Brown Acid 17. It's our 17th trip, and the digital will be everywhere, but the first single's out and this whatever, and I won't bore you with the rest, but dude, we literally have so many great things coming up, and I just thank you for your time, and thank you for what you do.
Oh man, I appreciate it. And same goes back to you. One thing I like about Writing Easy is you go up to the website and you start with one record. I think you mentioned a little bit earlier. You start with one record, you're like, oh, what's that one? Oh, I haven't heard of that one. Oh shit, look at these shirts. And all of a sudden, before you know it, the shopping cart is full of goodness. And that's why I like Writing Easy, because it's not, it feels like it's not just music, but it's a bit of a lifestyle.
Absolutely. I mean, I wanted to make t-shirts back in the day, and I had all these designs, and I was like, man, like it doesn't matter if it doesn't stand for something. And it's like the same way that you see somebody wearing a Thrasher t-shirt and they don't skate. They wear it because they like what it's associated with. And I find people wearing Riding Easy stuff, or they have a Riding Easy tire cover on the back of their van. They could not fucking tell me one name of any of our bands. They don't listen to our stuff, but they like what it stands for, and it helps them be a part of something. So yes, that's part of the deal. You know, with rock and metal kids, that's all part of the uniform: patches, t-shirts, uniform. So yeah, man, we literally have to sell everything in order to keep this party afloat.
Every so often, I'll see someone with a Riding Easy shirt or something, and it's almost a little nod, like, "Yep, that person's carrying a Sneakatoke."
That's exactly right. Well, Nate, again, thank you so much. It's always I'm always flattered anytime you want to talk to me. So
hey, absolutely proud to have you on. Happy episode 420. You are now welcome to do a ceremonial bong hit. If that is something.
I don't have one loaded up, damn it, but trust me, it's gonna go down. No one, I'm not afraid of that. We also sell a mug that you can drink coffee of and smoke your favorite grass out of at the same time. It's called a hippie speedball mug. So anyways, but yeah, man, thank you so much. And I will take you up on that ceremonial bong hit. It is only 2 p.m. for me here, so I still have a kind of a work day ahead of me, but rest assured, when the sun goes,
you're sounding like a weekender now, Daniel.
Total 9 to 5er, dude.
All right, man. Hey, I'll catch up with you when I'm in LA later in the year, man.
Awesome, buddy. Well, great to see you as always.
You too.
And, I'll talk to you soon.
Okay. Thanks again, Daniel. Cheers,
Thanks,
man.
dude. Bye.
Bye. That is awesome. Daniel, you are welcome back anytime, mate. I love this label, reissuing.com. And of course, for the next week or so, you can get 15% off with discount code VinylGuide at checkout. You know how that works. Oh, and don't forget there's an extended version of this interview only available to the Patreon legends who help support the show, patreon.com/vinylguide. And if you're not a member, that's okay. You could change that right now. Head up there, help support this show, and enjoy all the extras. And that's it for this episode of The Vinyl Guide. Thank you so much for tuning in. Please share these episodes on your social media. Put them on Facebook, tweet them out on Twitter, do a little TikTok dance if you feel so inclined. Of course, you could always help show your technophobic buddies how to get a podcast on that smartphone of theirs. They'll appreciate it, and I certainly will too. We'll be back shortly with a brand new episode. So until we talk next time, get out there and buy some records, people. Cheers.
That's it for this episode of The Vinyl Guide. Send your thoughts to Nate at thevinylguide.com or follow or tag us on Instagram at Vinyl Guide. Until next time, keep spinning.